Okay, so that part is on, and let me see if we are started.
2 minutes.
That's fine, we might be.
I'm gonna move this over to here because the YouTube one is gonna be over in that corner. I think. I moved
Yeah,
that.
yeah, that's great. I was just checking to see.
Okay, so let's do this real quick.
Can you share it just to make sure I'm at the right link too, Trisha?
Yeah, just.
Okay.
Okay, so we've got audio, we've got. Okay.
Okay, there's that.
So that part is great. I'll just change it over to public in just a minute. And what I want to do is
I'll do this
I want
if you
to
want to
add,
zoom in.
just in case.
Putting in this right on my armpit.
So just in case I wanted to be able to share like our website or something.
Yes.
What do I?
Open up the website first. So I use
okay.
Edge. And so just monitor works. Okay, and then F11 to make full screen. Where's F11?
Okay, let's do that. Oh no, I can't.
F11. There we go. That way it's the full screen.
Wait.
Now,
I don't want to do it that way.
Yeah, F11. You need those buttons at the bottom. Okay.
Okay. So now I go to the minicam, and then I add.
Now you can go to desktop. Yep. App window.
This?
That one. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that way if we need to refer people.
And
Now,
turn this camera on.
now if I were to go back here and I were to go to a different, like this is capturing this whole like this, like if I were to search for something else, like go off of our website, like go to Lippert, I can still share that, right? Like
Possibly.
I'm not committed to just this. Okay.
I don't know.
Right.
Let's. Yeah. Here, let's go. Turn this one on. Oops. Turn this one on. That's this one. So if it's just me, and you're not needed, does that make sense?
I guess I don't.
You can stay in it, but if for some reason, yep.
Okay, and then do we want to add?
We could just stay with one. Yeah.
Do we want to add us in here or?
Yeah. Maybe
how
off
do I
this
do
one.
that?
Up at the top.
Oh, this thing.
Yep. And then pick the camera that you want to be. That's going to be that one. Yeah. And then round your corners. Yeah. Oh, selected to affect it. Click that and then round corners. Yeah.
Oh, I was rounding this.
Yes. Okay. Okay.
Okay. So I think we are ready. So I'm just going to make it public on here, and then what will be really interesting is trying to. Oh, I remember one other thing. Okay, we'll just go ahead and go public, and you can start saying hi, and
just tell me
it
when.
might take us it's gonna probably take a little bit of time.
Yep, tell me when.
So we should be started. I'm gonna just confirm that we've got, and then I'll send you the link in.
Okay.
Yep, we've got volume, and we're live.
Testing 1, 2. We're still practicing, so if you can hear us and see us, just let us know in the chat messages.
They will, but there's nobody watching yet.
Oh, okay.
Because they didn't have a link to click on since we're using the streaming software. This is the first that they've even seen it pop up in their feed. So hopefully everybody is.
Okay. We got 50 the other day.
Got it.
I know, that's why I was saying, I was like, this is more than we even get when we like have it planned.
Yeah, on a
Maybe
Wednesday.
Wednesday needs to be our new day. Did I give it to you, Ann? Did you get that?
Yeah, I got it. I'm there. I see you.
Or what? Actually, I do want to be able to, I think, see that. But I just want to turn the volume. Oh, great! We've got people.
Yay!
Okay.
hear you. You're good.
I am here. Hi guys.
Alright.
Are you going to get us started?
Welcome.
This is Trisha.
Yes. Hi. So we've got some software. So Darren, why don't you just say hi to everybody while I finish getting this set up, because we've got some cool things we can do on here.
We just got some really groovy new software that we're investing in to help make this product a better, to help create a better product for you guys. So we'll be able to do some split screening, and if we're going to lead you to a website type thing, we can have a picture-in-picture type thing. So this is actually the first time we've been playing with it for the live stream. Trisha and I are putting together a series called How to Start, Maintain, and Operate a Mobile RV Service Business. We just finished up episode 6. So for that information, you would go to our Patreon site, and it's for the $15 and $25 pledge level that those folks have access to that. And so I've been using the software a lot in that arena. And so we figured, well, hey, let's play with it in this arena. So we're just figuring out how to get it to stream and how to get it to work. And we'll get it all figured out. It's not a problem, but we're just playing around with some new software because this is something we're investing in at our end, so we make a better product for you guys.
And so I'm gonna probably have to have two
Computers
computers going.
got
I don't know how this
going.
is all gonna work,
Yes.
but I'm gonna try to take your questions and type them up on here, just so that you can see them. So
Do you
yeah,
have another TV tray?
not anything handy.
Oh.
Okay,
How about
well,
this table?
maybe.
Okay.
Let me ask you the first question. And then
Okay,
I'll-
ask me the first question, and then we'll.
Well, actually, I'm going to do some housekeeping first. So just welcome you all to our live stream Q&A. Thanks for joining us. And just a reminder.
And help grab that. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right.
That's great, actually. That was perfect.
Okay,
That's
good.
what we need. So just a reminder that we go live the first Friday of every month at 4:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And so if you are subscribed and you hit the notification bell, you should see that link pop up in your feed, or should see that video pop up in your feed when we go live. And if we were ever to go live on a different day, if you were subscribed and had the notifications on, you would know that. You might know that because this Wednesday we were testing out the software, and we thought, oh, well, let's just see how it all works. Well, we went live without even knowing, and we had like 50 people on there. So if that was you, sorry about that. We didn't have any audio, and it was just, I didn't realize we were filming, and anyways.
We were doing a very first dress rehearsal for this getting ready for Friday thing. So
yeah, and then you mentioned the How to Start series, so that is great. I did want to say, we are at like 98.6 thousand subscribers, and so we're gonna hit that 100,000 mark. I imagine
sooner or later.
Yeah. And so if you have any ideas of what we should do to like celebrate that, I've seen other YouTubers do some fun things, like they do drawings, or like I saw one person that was like, for every subscriber from now until we get to 100,000, we're going to put a nickel in a jar, and then we're going to pick a winner. Once we get to 100,000 subscribers, we'll do a live stream and do a winner. So if you have any ideas of a fun thing that we could do once we get to 100,000, let us know. And we do have a couple of ways that you can donate if you want. So during this live stream, there's like a super chat and a super sticker feature. You can use that if you want to donate. We do love to put out content, and we love to spend our time really investing as best that we can in you, and so that's just one way to support us in our efforts to do that. So today's live stream, we're going to answer your questions live, and some of you might already know the drill. Just start putting your questions in the chat feed, and since it's still winter time, we will give priority to furnaces, just because we want people to stay warm.
Stay warm. Yeah.
But whatever question you have, just go ahead and put it in the comments. You never know, even if we can't address it on here, you never know what might turn into an idea for a video or something like that.
We did that just this last week.
Yeah, and I do have a couple of questions queued up. That one of them from the last live stream, so that's another way that it might get answered. But we had somebody his handle was Trash No Land, and some of those handles are interesting, guys. He says, I'm adding a restroom to my enclosed cargo trailer.
Okay.
Simply one toilet and one sink, cold water only. Can I install only 2 tanks and drain the sink water directly into the black tank?
Yes. I have a service trailer that you may have seen parts of, and in there, when I built that trailer, they have a black tank that fits on top of the floor, and then you get the little stubby toilet to fit on top of the tank. So when your tank and your toilet equal the height, you have the height of a standard toilet. So that was my black tank. And then in my service trailer, I had a big 30-gallon tank underneath the whole, outside with the gate valves and everything. Well, I don't always dump my tanks, and I found out that my black tank was getting full pretty quickly. There's a joke in there somewhere. I'm full of something. Anyway, so basically what I've done is I've just plumbed them all together. So basically, I treat that gray tank, I just treat it as a black tank. So my sink water is going into my blank tank, and my black tank's going to my black tank. So basically, I just have one tank. So when I go to dump, I just treat it all like black water. And so that's how I do that. Now before I did that, I used one of these little cassette toilet things, or like little you just disconnect the bottom half and go take that someplace. And that worked for a couple of years on my first trailer. That way you can just move it around your trailer as you need to gain access to different parts of your trailer. But my new service trailer, I actually installed a complete facility in it. So I hope that answered the question. So yes, your black tank can go right into your gray tank, and just treat it all as black water and it's fine. You do need to put a vent stack in that though. And put your vent in your tank and usually put it above the roof line. Otherwise you're like that jug, you know, when you're trying to dump your like a distilled water out, you need to put a vent on your thing. So when you do your tank, make sure you have a vent as well.
Great. Okay.
We have a little scrolling thing. A neat feature.
Yeah,
yes.
working
Okay.
on that.
We're getting better. Yeah.
Okay, so it looks like, I just want to make sure that you guys can hear us clearly, so I'll assume it's all a go unless we hear otherwise.
Can you hear us good?
Okay.
Yeah. And it's giving us a thumb up. Okay.
Okay, and so I've got a couple more questions, and then we'll dive into the live stream questions.
Okay.
So Fryer View Repair says, from a recent video, diagnosing and replacing a Suburban furnace motor, he says, I had the exact same problem the night you released this video on Patreon.
Oh,
so
how exciting.
he's a Patreon subscriber, and
Thank you.
patrons get early access to our content.
Yes.
And he says, Suburban was out of stock and none of the area dealerships had one. With nightly temps in the upper 20s, I had to go for a generic replacement I could get in 2 days. Would like to hear how you deal with this type of situation.
Ouch. In that situation, yeah, I would throw the generic in there just to get it working. And if that works, great. You do get into a little bit of a warranty type issue, because I will warranty my workmanship. And in a situation like that, if it's not the OEM type motor, sometimes I will let the customer buy those parts, because if that motor turns out to fail, I'm not involved in the fact that you bought this aftermarket motor. So with that type of stuff, like you mentioned the Suburban motor, I know that the Schwintek motors, if you were going to buy a Schwintek motor directly from Lippert, it's in the $250 price range, plus or minus. But I've seen those Schwintek motors on Amazon for like $50, $60, something like that. So in a situation like that, which is similar to this type of a question that you have on your Suburban, I might, so get an affiliate link set up with Amazon if you're a mobile RV service. Just go ahead and get yourself set up as a business with Amazon and get your affiliate link set up, and then send that customer that link. They buy the motor. It doesn't cost them anything more, but you're going to make a little 2 to 3% commission off of that. And that way, if the motor turns out to fail, it did not go through your business, and then the customer then would be the one that follows up with Amazon to get a replacement motor sent out. If they went with that motor, and so you hire me to come in and put the motor in that you provided, I gave you the link, but you could have gotten the motor from anywhere, and you didn't have to use my link. But let's say you went with this cheaper motor, that you chose to buy, I'm saying you as a customer, and then you hire me to install the motor, and then that motor fails, then you're going to have to pay me a second time to put another motor in, because my workmanship was accurate, unless my workmanship was not correct. But so you paid me to put that motor in, and then the motor turned out to fail because it was a cheap motor. I have that conversation with the customer, and then the customer is going to be the one that's going to have to pay me a second time to put the right motor in. So I hope that all makes sense. But I don't know that my company should take a hit because a cheaper priced part was put in, if that makes sense. So the customer's trying to save some money, I get that. And I will do my absolute best to make sure that that motor got put in the absolute correct right way. And so I will warranty my ability to put that in. But if the motor fails, I don't think my company should take a hit because the motor was a cheap motor. So hope all that makes sense. I will answer that one more way. Let's say that I did provide the motor. If I did provide the motor, then it does kind of fall on me. But usually I stay away from using the cheap motors. Going back to the Schwintek example, I'm always going to, Darren, my RV Works, will always put that $250 Schwintek motor in that I got from Lippert. I don't know that I would buy the $50 or $60 motor from Amazon and put that in place of a new motor. It's just too much risk that I'm not comfortable building my business that way. And so I'm always going to opt for the OEM price. If the customer wants to go with a cheaper motor, that's on them. I'm more than happy to put it in, but they're going to buy it and they're going to pay me to put it in. And if it fails, they're going to have to pay me again to fix it. So that's how I would handle that. I think that was a question.
Oh, right. And so from the same video, Dawn asks, when you remove the piercing probes, do you need to use electrical tape to cover the piercing of the wire?
No, those probes are designed to pierce through the insulation, and when you take them out, the insulation seals itself back. Even if the insulation didn't seal itself back, within a couple inches of where I did the piercing, there's a terminal on it, so it's still exposed. But no, the insulation is going to seal itself, and even if it did leave a little hole, it's not that big of a deal because, like I said, they're going to cut that wire, strip it back, crimp a terminal on it, and that's much more exposure than you would have from this little piercing point on it. So the piercing probes that we use are a product that we sell on our website. You can go to myriverworks.com. Two little ovals on the right. You're going to have, I don't know what it's called. Here, you want to show them real quick? Where the tools are? We're going to try a groovy feature here. So we're going to show you where to get these piercing probes. And
Oops, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah.
Okay, there we go.
bear with us. So we're learning our new software. Sorry. Want me to drive? I'll drive. You do that. I'll drive.
Oh, I don't. Okay.
Okay. So I think this is on. So you're going to go to our online tools and parts store, and then you're going to go, here we have 3 options. This is all of our Amazon links. This is our merch. This is our merch where you can get t-shirts and mugs and things. But this is where our tools are. So you're going to view our tools, and right here you will see that these are tools that we make. This is the product that the customer is referencing. This is a tool that I make. It's got piercing banana probes, and if you click on it, you can read all about it. But these are the piercing probes, and if we were to click there and drive in, this is an industry standard type of a probe. And then I also make tools for tapping into LP. We have the quick release, or quick connect, and we have the standalone. And for those of us that work on aquahots, I have an aquahot box down here. So the piercing probes are these that he's talking about, and we have quite a few other little things, and these are tools that I have used myself in working on RVs. So these would fall into Darren's best practices of the types of tools that we would use for RV type repair. So I will go back to that. And let us know if that was groovy and if that worked with that picture-in-picture thing, because we're trying to play around with some new features here. So just, you could give us a feedback to say, hey, that was awesome, or like, don't ever do that again, you made me sick. So, okay.
Okay, so now we're jumping into our live questions. Karen says, is it a good idea to convert propane H2O heater to electric on demand? I am a full-timer.
Are you talking about the cheap heat system? I'm going to assume you're probably talking about the cheap heat system offered by RV Comfort Systems. I've done quite a few of those conversions, even with my own RV, and I love it. The way you would answer that question is to do a simple math calculation. And how much does it cost to run your furnace on LP, how much does it cost to run your furnace on electric? Or how much does it cost to heat your RV on propane and heat your RV on electric? And if you can remember the number 16, remember that number 16, it's an easy way to formulate that. So you take the cost of propane, I don't know what it is, but I'm going to come up with a number, let's say it's $2.50. $2.50 a gallon. I don't even know if that's even remotely close, but we need a number to play with. So propane per gallon is $2.50. Then you need to know what it costs you per kilowatt for electricity. You take the cost of kilowatt of electricity and you multiply that by 16. And I don't have a calculator in front of me at all, but I'm just going to play with some numbers. If you know your kilowatt wattage, how much you'd pay per kilowatt of electricity, you multiply that by 16. And let's say for purposes of instruction, you ended up with $3. Okay. Well, in that instance, the $2.50 in propane is cheaper than the $3 of electricity, so it's cheaper to heat on propane. But if you do that math and you come to find out that electricity is $1.85, then it's cheaper to heat your RV on electricity than it is on propane. So the key number there is 16 is a constant. This is as it relates to the furnace, because the furnace is only 60% efficient. 40% of the heat that the furnace generates is exhausted out the back. So 16 is a number for your furnace. So if you were going to convert your furnace, you could take the whole furnace out and put in a cheap heat electric one. They are a little bit bigger, so be advised. Their blower motor's got a little bit of a bigger height on it, and you're going to seal off your outside door. But it's going to use as much electricity as that air conditioner is in the summertime. So I put one in my service trailer, not my service trailer. We have an RV that I converted into my office, and I just got tired of filling the propane up all the time, so I just put a cheap heat electric in it, and it's been fantastic. Keeps it nice and warm. So I hope that was the question you were asking.
She said the water heater, not furnace. I don't know.
Oh, water heater. Oh, well, there's a whole bonus answer on the furnace. So the water heater electric. Okay, ask me the question again on electric water heater.
Yes. So
versus
it
gas?
is it a good idea to convert propane H2O heater to electric on demand? So the water heater, the on-demand water heater?
Okay, on that electric on demand, be careful on the electric on demand water heaters because they consume a tremendous amount of electricity. You need to look at your gallons per minute of delivery. It's a big difference between an on-demand electric water heater washing your hands versus an electric on-demand water heater taking a shower. Okay, we have had some rude awakenings for some folks that have bought these electric on-demands that just plug into an outlet with a 110 volt element. And if you look at how many gallons per minute those things are going to deliver, it's nowhere near enough to take a long hot shower. And typically your whole house units that do that, they're 240 volts with huge electric heating elements, and they consume a lot of power, as much as a stove or a dryer would, to heat that water, because that water is only exposed to that heating surface for a short period of time. Now, so to answer your question, go in with eyes wide open, do your math, and one of the key things you're going to ask is, how many gallons per minute will that electric on-demand water heater produce for me? They do have some LP on-demand water heaters that are very popular, and we've installed quite a few of those. But see, that LP is able to generate a lot of heat in a very short period of time, as opposed to electricity generating the same amount of heat in this shorter period of time. So we have fielded that quite a few times. We've even had people buy electric on-demand water heaters, and we go through the math with them. They buy it and they get us involved, and we go through the math, and there's no way that electric water heater is going to keep up with it based on the amount of electricity that we're getting from the RV. It would have to have some other source, 240 volts, and all those types of things. So just go in with eyes wide open, do the math up front, and find out if it's a good number for you to play with.
All right, and our next question. Let's see, I was going to try to do something. Oh, let me see if I can.
We're still learning the software.
Yeah, I was trying to make it easier on me to get the question up really quick, but.
Okay.
Okay, so Paul says, I have 2 heat pumps which I removed.
Okay.
Would each one of them have a wire that went to the fuse panel that then goes to the furnace? Oh, before we answer that, let me first say, thanks, Jose. That was really nice. We appreciate that.
What'd I miss?
Yeah.
He donated $20.
Oh, hey, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now I'll tell you. So Paul asks, I have 2 heat pumps which I removed. Would each one of them have a wire that went to the fuse panel that then goes to the furnace?
Okay. I need to ask you a question. How many furnaces do you have? typically what we find is only one of your heat pumps would have the wires that feed the furnace. So if you only have one furnace, then only one of those heat pumps is going to be the one that controls the furnace. So if you take the heat pumps off, now well, let me back up just a second. Here's how you would know. You would go up to your ceiling. If your heat pumps are still there, then there's going to be two wires that are going to be going from the furnace up to that ceiling plenum, that 14 by 14 hole. Now, if you want to do something, you could just take those two wires that you've identified that are being fed from the furnace and touch them together. That should start your furnace. So specifically to answer your question, if you only have one furnace, then only one of those heat pumps is going to be controlling the furnace. Now, if you want to operate your furnace, then you can just get a simple, there's a programmable, there's programmable. Oh boy, you can have some fun with this, because that furnace, all it wants to do is have two wires touched together to make it start. And usually up in your air conditioner, your heat pump area, you have a dry contact closure up in the ceiling plenum that is basically doing the job. The thermostat's telling it, I want heat, close. Thermostat says he's satisfied, and he opens. That's how that circuit works. But if you're taking out your heat pumps, you could also take out that thermostat. And then you can get a standalone thermostat that just runs your furnace. I can't give you a link right now, but I tell you what, once we publish this, look for the links down below, because we'll publish this, and I'll put a link on there, or Sid, Trisha's husband, will put a link down there. There's one that I use. It's a battery-powered one, but it gives you a digital display. It gives you the temperature of the room, and it's got an on-off switch to turn the furnace on and off, and then you've got these little arrow buttons to turn it on and off. You could be really fancy like what I did to my RV, and I've got my whole furnace controlled from Wi-Fi, and I can control it from my phone. So my RV is about an hour drive from here, and I can turn on my phone. I can turn my furnace on in my RV from here. And so those would be your, I went with a Sensi, but who's the other one? It starts with a, I'm drawing a blank. The round ones, Nest. You can make a Nest work. So you can have a lot of fun with those thermostats. The caveat there is most of those thermostats, the one that I'm recommending is going to work on battery, so you don't have to worry about it. But the Nest and the Sensi ones, they're 24 volts AC, so you do need to have a relay, a transformer, and then you need to create a really simple relay bank. So one half of the relay is controlled from the 24 volt Sensi or Nest or whatever, and then the furnace is going to see the 12 volt signals changing state. So if y'all are interested in that, I'm more than happy to do a video. In fact, I think I will do a video, because like I had mentioned about that electric cheap heat thing, I'm still working off of the thermostat that's going to the air conditioner, but I was going to put one of these Sensi thermostats on that as well. So I'll make a video of that. That'll be a good thing for me to do. So you'll get a bonus on how to make one of these Sensi or Nest thermostats control your RV furnace. Hope I answered your question. Did I? That was a long answer.
I'm sure you did. To be honest,
You're not even listening.
No,
okay,
I'm
okay.
not. The whole time that you're talking, I'm just getting the questions copied and pasted. And,
all right.
Okay.
Ann and Trisha are doing amazing keeping up with you guys, and I'm just answering questions.
So Ron asks, can a propane hose be safely spliced?
No. Next answer. Okay, the propane hose is what's called a UL listed device, and what that means is it is one contiguous part number, one part, not to be spliced. And you're talking I heard you say hose, so you're not going to cut the hose and put little barbs in there and clamp it down. That would be wrong. What you can do is get the hoses that are made as a hose. That means that the hose itself is rated for 350 psi, and it's going to stamp on there that it's rated for gas. It's going to have stamped on there that it's rated for 350, and it's going to have the ends on it. That makes it a UL listed appliance. As soon as you cut that thing, it's no longer a listed appliance, and I don't want to be anywhere near it. But you can get the hoses that are manufactured as a UL listed device that have the threads on it, and then you could put your T's and all this kind of stuff and put another hose on it that way. That is fully allowed, but don't cut your LP hose.
All right, and then the next.
My nose was itching last time, and now it's itching again.
I don't know what it is in this room, but. Okay, so Sam asks, when should you replace low pressure propane hoses? My micro mini trailer has low pressure hoses for distribution.
What I might recommend is to blow them out. I have a desire to do a video on blowing out the LP hoses, but basically you're going to go to your regulator, and your regulator is going to have your 2 propane cylinders or your AMSE tank connected to the in-feed side of your regulator. Then the out-feed side of your regulator is going to have that 3/8 male. You're going to take that off and just kind of lay it. I usually put a couple towels down on the ground, but just let it lay down there. And then you're going to go to the farthest point back that you can gain access to. You're going to get like your compressor and a little nozzle, like you would fill up an inner tube or something. And you're just going to blow it out, and you're going to see a lot of snotty looking stuff, oily residue coming out of your where it was connected to the regulator. And then, so once you've gone from the farthest point, if it's really bad, then you start working your way in other points and just working your way like herding sheep, or herding cats, all the way back to where that connection was. If there was oil in the line, then I would highly recommend also replacing your regulator at that point, because it would have gone through your regulator as well. As I've mentioned in some of my videos, the oil is coming from those pigtails, the high pressure pigtails, what we just talked about in the previous answer, that are connected to your AMSE tank, or they're connected to your DOT cylinders. The oil in your line is coming from that pigtail hose. It's going through the regulator, and it's getting into the lines in your RV. So you can replace those, but let's try blowing them out first. It's going to be a lot easier to do that. So hope that answers that one.
Okay, and I'm gonna back up to the one that you just answered. I don't know if it will make a difference, but I saw some additional comments.
Okay.
So this was Paul. His original question was, I have 2 heat pumps which I removed. Would each one of them have a wire that went to the fuse panel that then goes to the furnace? So these are just some
Fuse
extra
panel.
comments he made. He said, 1 furnace, I have a multi-zone thermostat.
Okay.
And I don't know if this relates. Each air conditioner had a white and blue wire that was 12 volts that ran to the fuse panel. When I hook up my Fury on air conditioners, do I hook each unit up to each furnace wire?
Well, if you only have 1 furnace, only one of those heat pumps is going to control that furnace. The other one will not control the furnace. And when you set up your thermostat, one zone will have a furnace mode on that zone, and the other zone will not have a furnace mode. So I'm curious what your white and blue wires are. Are those 12 volt? If they're going to the fuse panel, then that's your 12 volt feeding the air conditioner, because the brain in the air conditioner needs 12 volts for it to do its job. But it also, so the brain needs a 12 volt brain in your air conditioner that's doing all the decision making, but you need 120 volts in your air conditioner to actually turn on the motors. So if you only have 1 furnace, I would imagine that one of those ceiling plenums is going to have 2 additional wires that are going to go to your furnace. So I don't want you to randomly start touching the wires together if we don't know where they go, okay? But your furnace is going to have 2 wires that leave the furnace and go up to the air conditioner. Well, see, that depends. It depends. If you have a Coleman, now you said Furrion, because the Dometic air conditioner wiring goes from the furnace up to the ceiling plenum, and the control of your furnace is at the ceiling plenum control box. Coleman, the furnace goes to the thermostat, and the thermostat then goes right back to the furnace, or the thermostat goes up to the air conditioner. Furrion, I don't have their wiring schematic in my brain. So if you're saying that the wires are going to your fuse panel, then I'm going to say that there's a control brain up in the ceiling plenum, and it needs to get 12 volts in order for the brain to work.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer. Okay. But I guess the thing is, you need to figure out where the wires are from your furnace. If you have a multi-zone, if you let us know, you said multi-zone, but I don't know if it's a Coleman, if it's a Dometic, if it's a Carrier, if it's Excel. I heard you say Furrion. Furrion's kind of new. They're a new player. I haven't played with too many of those. They haven't broken that much, I guess.
Okay, so we'll go to the next question. Vermont Country Workshop says,
Hey, Vermont.
Relatively new SF-35Q Suburban furnace will not stay lit. Put in a new board, worked for a week over Christmas, not used for 2 weeks, took 6 tries to stay lit. Suggestions?
When you're, okay, so a couple things. So it's an SF-35, that means it's a 35,000 BTU furnace. FQ means it has a door. That F in there means it's got a door and a Q. I get those backwards. So What I need to know, and you can answer this, but I'll answer it anyway, without knowing back from you. Okay, so here's what we would expect to happen, and I'll take this a couple different ways, and I might spend a few minutes on this because maybe other people can benefit from it. Your furnace is going to start. The first thing so we hear the motor starting. Therefore, we know that your cell switch is in the open state. If the cell switch is stuck closed, you would never have your motor start. So that's the first thing you're going to take away from this. So then what I need to know from you is, do you get ignition? What ignition is after the fan starts and the furnace is running for about 18 seconds, you should hear a click sound, which is a gas solenoid opening. And if you're really careful, you can hear a ticky tick 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 sound, which is the igniter striking an arc over the burner head. If you hear the click sound, which is a gas solenoid opening, and you hear the ticky tick tick sound, at that point you should have ignition right away. If you do not have ignition right away, then the problem is now we're looking at a gas problem. So then I would ask you, do you smell gas? Okay, so let me I'm jumping all over the place. Let me try to make this really simple. You can figure out what's wrong with this furnace within about 30 seconds, okay? When you start your furnace, does your blower start? Yes or no?
Yes, he gets ignition.
Yes, you do get ignition and then it flames out. I'm gonna assume you get ignition and then it flames out. If you get ignition and then it flames out, that is telling us that the control board is not detecting the flame, okay? So the control board not detecting the flame is gonna shut down the gas valve. How does a control board detect the flame? That's that electrode that's sticking out above your burner head. It's going to be one long little wire and another little wire that's got this ceramic thing on it that's connected to your control board, and it's hovering over it. So if it's flaming out, your gap might be too great or too small.
He says it tries 3 times.
3 tries?
All times will not hold flame. After 6 tries, it held the flame.
Then that tells me one of 2 things it could be. One is the electrode is not set right. So get an Allen key that's like an 1/8 of an inch Allen key, and it's a Suburban. I think you said it's an SF-30. Okay. So I did a video. Go look at my furnace videos. It's one I did a couple years ago. Where that electrode is over that elongated burner head matters. You're going to shine a flashlight through, and you'll see a lance. I do that in the video. But where that electrode is, if it's not set in the right location, it may not be detecting the flame at the most optimal point. But you want to make sure that's about an 1/8 of an inch gap. So I take an Allen key and slide under the 1/8 of an inch, and you want there to be an 1/8 of an inch gap. Then the size of the gap is a function of the diameter of the electrode. So 1/8 of an inch, 3/16 to an 1/8 of an inch. If that's not, if it's set right, then the next thing I would say is LP pressure. Okay, so you want there to be 11 inches of water column at the furnace. You might have checked it at your refrigerator, you may have checked it at the stove, you may have checked it at the regulator, but we really need to know what LP pressure is that furnace getting. And a lot of these furnaces, you'll have the gas valve. Now this is going to be a real pain to get to, but you could do a bench test on this. The other thing you could do on a bench test is for me, if I'm suspicious that it's the LP pressure, I have a known good regulator that I keep in my kit. I've got a known good cylinder that I keep in my service trailer, and I will tap in my own LP, my own regulator, my own hose directly into that furnace, and if it works perfectly, then I know I have a problem with the LP gas system in the RV. But on your Suburbans, getting to the electrode is a bit of a pain. Because you got to pull the whole furnace out. It's just that one screw. If you have a door in the front, one screw, take that one screw out, the whole thing should slide right on out. You do have to take your gas valve off and unplug your wires, and then you'll have to take all these little screws out and disconnect this 5/8 the little tube that goes down. I use a crow's foot type of wrench. It's a 5/8. You got to get in there, and those are a bear to get screwed back on. I've lost a half an hour trying to get the threads aligned. And so if you're going to do that, be very careful with a little gasket that you're going to take off. You can reuse that. I usually put a new one on there, but if you don't have a new one, just be careful with that. And so those would be some thoughts. Either your gap is not right. If the thing is igniting, then we know it's not the sail switch. We know it's not the control board. It could be the control board too. The reason it's flaming out is because the board is not detecting the flame. So we need to make sure we're stacking the deck so that the flame can be detected. How does it detect a flame? With the gap, and maybe the gap is right, your board might be defective, or you don't have the right amount of LP pressure. The LP pressure could be too great or too less, and it's not giving it the right amount of BTU, and that is interpreted in that flame gap, and the board says, I'm not happy, I'm shutting off the gas valve. So that's a long answer, but I hope that somewhere in there we've helped a lot of people with their furnace problems using that as a example.
All right, I do want to say I am noticing that the words that are coming across the screen are coming across at like a
Really fast.
Really
yeah,
fast.
like a
Okay.
really
And I'm a speed reader, I can't even keep up with it.
yeah, they're super fast. So I don't know how to fix that.
We're
I'm
learning. We're
sorry
learning.
about that,
Let us
but-
play and learn this. It'll be beneficial to everybody. What if you spread this
well,
whole
now
thing
it's
out?
going slow. I did spread it out, and now it's going slower. So maybe, okay.
It likes you
maybe-
now. Yeah.
Maybe it's
So-
for the shorter questions, it's slower.
Grant asks, can the converter cause breakers to trip?
No.
Okay, you want to move on?
How could the converter? The only way the converter could cause a breaker to trip is if the converter itself has failed, and it could cause it. So the converter is kind of like an appliance, like a toaster or a microwave or a hairdryer. You're going to plug it in, and it's going to take 120 volts and give it 12 volts out. Could it cause a converter to trip? Okay, I said no. It probably could if the converter was himself bad. But if the converter is behaving itself, the 12 volt side could, it just wouldn't give you 12 volts. So if you're suspicious of that, most of these converters just get plugged in overwhelmingly, or they're integrated into the breaker panel, and you can find the black and the white wire, and you can just kind of, I don't know, wire nut on a plug and plug it into another known good source and see if it trips that breaker. But I said no, but maybe if the converter was bad, yeah, it could trip a breaker. But normally converters are shared with other circuits. So are you sure it's a converter, or maybe it's some other circuit somewhere? Because normally they're shared. They usually do not have their own circuit. So.
All right, and this was a lot earlier on in the stream, but Wanda you had said something about you got a notification, but you're a patron member. So I just I'm not sure, but we go live on YouTube from 4:30 to 5:30, and then we will hop over on. Well, if you go to log into Patreon, you'll see a post that has a link to a video or a link to the live stream that we'll be doing afterwards. So at our general YouTube audience, 4:30 to 5:30, and then Patreon, you have access from 5:45 till about 6:30.
And then we go to dinner.
And then we go to dinner. So, Max asks, this is just a video request.
Okay.
And Max, I want to say that you asked a question, and I actually put that in the queue. I think we're going to answer it the end of this month, I think. It had to do with inverters. So
Okay.
anyway, so just a heads up on that. But he asks, can you please make a video on how to properly use inverters with a solar system? Solar is a new addition in an RV, so I think that would help so many. So I know sometimes we're limited to what we can record based on what we have available. But if that's something you think you could detail it.
Quick.
Yeah.
Want to say something real quick?
Yeah.
Inverter and solar. I don't see the connection between inverter and solar. Solar's job is to charge your batteries. Inverter's job is to take the power out of the batteries that were charged and turn it into 120. So how do they work together? You got to do some math to make sure that the inverter is going to get enough juice out of the batteries. But I don't see how inverter and solar are used in the same sentence. Can you have a solar array charging your batteries? Yes. Can you have an inverter taking power out of your batteries, feeding 120 to your coach? Yes. But inverter is kind of like downstream from your battery, and solar is kind of upstream from your battery, and the battery is where they all kind of come together. But the inverter is not going to charge your battery, and the solar is not going to give you 120. So now maybe there's something to be said about converters and solar chargers. Yeah, I'm just curious where to go with that one.
And I think the question that he had to do with like a deeper dive into what an inverter does and what a converter does, one of the two.
Okay.
So,
I got a 30-second answer for that one.
Okay.
Okay, converter versus inverter. I did a video on
But
that.
we are going to do a whole video on that.
Yeah, let me just do this real quick since we're all here together. So converter versus inverter. We have to pick something where we can answer them both the same. And so what they have chosen is the AC sine wave. Okay, so we're going to just make everything the same on the AC sine wave. So we look at the AC sine wave, it goes up, it goes down, like an AC sine wave. DC is just up, 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 up. Okay? So if we were to take that AC sine wave and where it goes up and then down and up and down, and let's just take all the ones on the down and just flip them up. So therefore it goes up and down, up and down. Now it's going to go up, 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 up. We now have direct current. Okay? So if we are going to convert the up and down, up and down, up, we're going to convert it to ups. Okay? So we've converted all the ups and downs. We converted it to all ups. It's been converted. The inverter is going to take every other up and invert it to every other up to be every down. So instead of going up, 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 it goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And therefore we have not direct current, which is all the ups. Now we have alternating current, which is up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, thereby giving us inverted power, which is what is the AC sine wave, which is alternating current. And then I'll finish by this, unless I get slapped. The inverter, when we take all those other ups, every other up, and we invert it to be the downs, that could either be like a stair-steppy thing, which we call a modified sine wave, which generates heat. So be advised when you use those, but they're usually very cheap. Or it is a pure sine wave where it is this perfect sinusoidal analog wave, and those are usually more expensive, but they give you this perfect wave. So when you invert from every other up to a down, you have the option of either going with a less expensive inverter, which is like a digital representation of stair steps up and down. Some of your machines might work fine with that, or pure sine wave. So the converter is converting all the downs to ups, and an inverter is taking every other up and inverting every other one to down. Done. How's that? Was that 30 seconds?
That was great.
That's my shot clock.
I also have one more converter question. Do you have any ideas on why my RV refrigerator will lose 12-volt power when the converter is on?
When the converter is
That's
on?
from Beverly. Yes.
Okay, so the refrigerator loses power when the converter is on. When the converter is on. The converter's job, I give the story of the farmhouse with the well pump for the converter and the battery. That's a weird one, and I would love to get my hands on that. I love these puzzles. So the job of the converter, since we're talking about inverters and converters, I'll just stay with this, and maybe we'll try to dig a little bit deeper in this answer to help you with your refrigerator problem. So if we lived on a farm, or I usually like farms, okay? If we lived on a farm and we had a well, let's say the well was 100 feet down, had a 15 horsepower pump, 100 feet down on the ground, and it was pumping the water up into our house. And I go in to turn on the water to wash my hands. Just real quick, wash my hands, and all I had was a pump and the plumbing to get it to the sink. Just the fact that I'm turning on the water to wash my hands, that 15 horsepower pump, all it understands to do is to turn on and pump whatever gallons per minute off the 100 feet over to my sink. That's all it understands to do. And if we didn't have a tank, like they're usually blue, I've seen them green, to store that water pressure, then that pump's going to burn out. You can visualize that. Now, if I'm running a car wash and I'm running the water all the time, fine, I don't need the tank. But compare that to our farmhouse, and now we get one of those little blue tanks and put it in the shed out back or down in a crawl space or something. And now that job of that pump is to fill the tank. And then I go to turn on my water and I'm washing my hands, and where's the water pressure come from? Not the 15 horsepower pump, but it comes from the tank. And so when the tank gets depleted, the pump then turns on and fills up the tank, and then we can do everything we need from the pressure in the tank. If that makes sense to the farmhouse analogy, let's apply that to the converter and the batteries and the usage on our RV. If we only have a converter, that's to say we've got our RV, we put it out at the ranch, and we built a deck around it and planted trees around it. That RV's never going anywhere, and I took the battery out and I just want my converter, and there are a lot of people that do this. Then that converter is like the pump. If I want to turn on one little bitty light, that converter, all it knows is to turn on. It can't store power. It just turns on to turn on that light. If I'm running my furnace, maybe that converter is not rated to give me the amount of, I need 10 amps to run my furnace. Maybe that converter is not rated for 10 amps. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. But if I added a battery to that RV system, let the converter charge the battery, let the battery provide the power for my lights, and let the battery provide the power for my furnace motor. So to your question, why when the converter turns on does your refrigerator turn off? there's got to be a wiring issue there, because is that to say that when you're off of shore power or when your converter is physically turned off or unplugged, everything works just fine, and then you plug your converter in and it doesn't? It could be that maybe it's cross-wired. Maybe your converter is wired plus to minus, minus to plus, or something like that, wasn't wired correctly, and so it's basically shorting out the DC circuit. It could be something like that. That would be something I would look at. And the way you would test that is to disable your converter, check at your battery to make sure your battery is plus and minus, take your negative, touch it to the ground of your RV, and make sure that you have continuity on the negative and you have 12 volts on the positive, touching the continuity of the frame, and then turn on your converter, plug it in, turn it on or whatever, and then make sure that you have that it passes that same test. If I've seen this where they've got the converter wires backwards, so as soon as you plug it in, it just shuts the whole works down because it's basically shorting everything out. And that may or may not cause your fuse to blow. But it sounds to me like if that's the case, it could be a wiring problem. Something as simple as your converter plus and minus on the DC side is wired backwards. So something to check out.
All right. And
I hope my analogies are okay. I feel like I'm rambling a lot on these stories, but I'm hoping they help.
Okay, so Wanda asks, I have a 1992 Rambler Imperial with an Atwood hydroflame furnace.
Okay.
Had to replace the burner with a Dometic. Long story short, I have 3 igniter probes.
Mm-hmm.
Do all of them need a 1/8 inch gap themselves, or just to the burner?
Yes, they all need 1/8 gaps between each other and between the burner. If you have the 3 probes, one is an igniter and one is a rectifier. So I'm assuming that your control board is still working fine. That means you're going to have 2 wires. One of them is going to go to that little black cylinder thing that you plug into. That's your igniter. And then one of the 3 is going to be a ground. But it's basically going to be 1/8 of an inch between everybody, to answer that one. If you wanted to replace that, you could get a new board. Dinosaur Electronics makes a board. And then you can go with the igniter that's just got the 2 prongs. Because the whole thing about the 3 prongs is just talking to the control board. And so if you change your control board, you can change your electrode to be a little bit simpler.
Oh, I want to ask another question because I think it's got overlooked. Michael McCullough, is there an easy way to adjust the tension on a manual awning?
No, that's funny.
Yes.
That's the next one.
Okay.
On that, you got to figure out what side your spring is on. And I've kind of done a video on this. It was an electric, but there's still a spring in it. So typically, you're going to want that awning to be all the way up next to the RV because there's less tension there. As soon as you extend your awning, it's going to have more tension, and you're going to work really hard. So bring your awning back in, and then is it an A&E? Lippert? Carefree?
Doesn't say.
Anyway, you're going to have to take, there's usually a bolt that holds the ear on. So here's my awning tube, and then the awning tube's going to come to like this. Different manufacturers have it attached different ways, but normally there's a bolt. Take that bolt, and the way to remember which way to tension it is the way the toilet paper comes off of a roll. If the toilet paper's coming over the top, that's the way you want to roll your awning to make it tighter, okay? So depending on which side your spring is on, because different sides of the spring is going to turn different ways, but as long as you go over the top, like a toilet paper roll, you're going tighter. If you're going to be changing your awning, it's always good to count the number of turns. I like to start with 12 turns, and if it's a manual, just take that bolt off, figure out which side your spring is on, take that bolt off, and I usually grab those with a big ass pair of channel locks or something, because you do not want that thing to unspring. I don't think it's going to hurt the awning, but it'll hurt you. So make sure when you take that bolt out and you slide it up, you're really hanging on to that thing, and you've got good footing, and you're just going to manually turn that. So if you need to add more tension, maybe do 2 or 3 more turns and then put it back together, try it. 2 to 3 more turns, put it back together and try it. But that would be how you would do that. And you might have springs on both sides.
All right, and then we have a question. I have a 2020 Crossfire Bullet. How do I get rid of the new smell that permeates everything? Yeah.
A candle?
And just to let you know, we just have a few more minutes, so we'll answer this. And
I don't know how to get rid of new smell. Candle, a diffuser with smells in it.
Essential oils, yeah.
Essential
that
oils.
Would be my recommendation.
I have no idea. I don't run into that in the RV tech world.
Okay. Let's see. See if we can answer one quickly. Reflected Mild says, where can someone buy the plastic end pieces that cover the thin 1-inch interior RV walls? They tend to get beaten up and break eventually. Maybe a T-shape that fits in a slot down the center?
There's quite a few vendors for that. You might be able to find some at Home Depot and Lowe's. I have seen some there, back where the paneling and stuff is sold. In ours, it's like on an end cap. But I don't remember the name. But I'll tell you what. I'm gonna take you on a tour on my website, because there's a catalog that you might benefit from. So Trisha's gonna take me back to this. Follow with me on this. There we go. Oops. I'm gonna show you where you can find all kinds of stuff. Okay, so I'll drive it from there. Okay, so we're gonna go to my website, and you got the website showing up there? I just want to make sure I'm on the right
Yeah, we've got
page.
a little delay, so
There's a
I'll
little
let
bit
you
of a
know.
delay, so I want to make sure everybody's on this right page here. Yeah, we're good? Okay, so what I want you to do is I'm going to show you where you're going to find all this information. So you're going to go to resources, and you're going to go down here to service manuals, okay? And when you get to service manuals, you are then going to, wait for the screen to load. There we go. Oh, wait. All right. And I'm going to go to category, and I'm going to go down here. Let me figure out which one it is. I'll tell you when I get there. Manufacturer catalogs, okay? So you're going to go to manufacturer catalogs and see this Winnebago manufacturer catalog. I'm going to go ahead and open it. And in this catalog, towards the back half, is everything you ever wanted to have as far as these kind of molding pieces you want. So you guys can take your time to scroll through this, but let's see here. Accessories and miscellaneous, that's 188. So I'm just going to go way down here. Here, let me grab this over here. This is a great resource, not just for, I'm just going to see if it's right here. There, oh, look where I ended up. These are all your drawer parts. I mean, this is tremendous resource. And then Lixon Motors would be where you would buy these from, because Winnebago, I don't know if you can buy directly from Winnebago, but Lixon Motors, they're like a mile away from the factory. And so all these weird molding pieces that you're wanting are in here. So you guys can go shopping and go find it. I don't know how to spell Lixon Motors, but you guys can figure that out. But this will give you the part number that you need. Okay, so I don't want to take the time to find it, but they're in this catalog. So let me go back to here. So hopefully, and let me go back to here. Let me make sure the transition is working. It seems to be stuck. It didn't like what I did. But anyway, so all these trim pieces and moldings, I have seen some at Home Depot and Lowe's, but where did it go? Oh, something weird's happening. Anyway, hopefully y'all can still hear me, and I can just keep, there you go. Okay, it's catching up. There we go. So I have seen some at Home Depots and Lowe's, but I know that catalog there that I just drove you guys to, oh my gosh, there's so many trim pieces and parts and moldings and all kinds of stuff, and that's a great place that I go to. Sometimes you just need to know what the thing is called, so you can go to eBay and find it there, because some of these things like GIMP, that's a name of something. I didn't know that little hard plastic thing in an awning. I just needed that hard plastic thing. That thing's called a piece of GIMP. And so sometimes it's enough just to know what the stupid thing's called, so you can then maybe go to Google and Google it and find warehouses that have it. So I hope that helps. But that's one of the things that I do, is I use that catalog to kind of scroll. I'm actually in the process of kind of upgrading and rebuilding one of my truck campers, and I needed some of the product that you're talking about, and I found it in there over the summertime, and I'm like, oh, this is great. This has got all these parts. So I found the name of it, and then I'll go to Google, and there's a lot of guys on eBay that sell that kind of stuff, but it's enough just to know the name of it.
Okay, so I have one quick question about the service manuals, and then I'll do the rapid fire with 2 last questions, and then we will get going. So I have a N611LT Norcold, and wanted to know if that is considered the 6000 series in your PDF manual. So I'm gonna go to that. You know, so how we have
N6?
our manuals. So, and a lot of people
That's the European style.
A lot of people do have this question when they go to our manuals section of our website. So I'm just going to go to service manuals. And so if you're looking for a particular series, you can use the search feature and just start typing in like your system. So we'll do, this is Norcold
You just do N6.
N6. And so you'll see right there how it says Norcold N6XX to N8XX series. So a lot of the times Darren has put this XX so that it includes all of the series that are in that line. So his question is his Norcold N611?
I would assume yes. I would assume that it is, yes. Because I'm the one that, so the way I get these manuals is I go to these classes and sometimes I'll ask the instructor, well, hey, do you mind if I get a copy of your stuff? And overwhelming, like, yeah, sure, here you go. And so then I review them, and there's thousands and thousands of documents, and some of it's proprietary that they don't want me to share, but some of it is available to be shared. So the original name for that manual was not NXX8. I had to rename every one of these things to give it a friendly name. And so that's how I find things, and so I figured it'd make sense. So I have to rename every one of these things and peruse it to make sure that it's public domain information, it's not proprietary. I do have some proprietary manuals, but I'm not going to put those up on the internet. Those would be something that you would get if you go to school and you talk directly with the manufacturers. But that's some of the things that tradecraft, how do we get so good at what we do, is because we go to the schools and we have access to information that may not be out there for the general public. But it would be improper for me to put that up there. But there are a lot more manuals that I have than what we post up there. But all the manuals that I do have, I've renamed them.
That's just to tease you. We've got information you can't have.
Yes. Become an RV tech and you get the secret decoder ring.
All right, so I've got 2 questions that just like as fast as you can answer them, and then we'll get off.
Yes and no.
Okay.
Chicken.
I don't know if you can answer this question fast. So actually, before I ask these and we answer them as quickly as we can, we are going to hop over to Patreon. So let me just go ahead and show you. If you're not a member of Patreon, we have some really cool benefits over there. And we've worked really hard to make that something that would add value to you. And so and there's all different levels. So if you are just like, I just, want to say thanks and support you or whatever, we've got a tier for that. We have a $5 tier. And then somebody said we need a faster computer, and at the moment I'm gonna agree with you.
Okay.
Okay. So, and can you confirm? Is it? You can see like. What
I think the computers. It's a YouTube upstream thingy. Okay.
So so here are our membership tiers on Patreon. Yeah. So we've got this $5 a month, which gives you early access to our videos and access to the overtime monthly live stream, which we'll be going to shortly
after this.
We've got the RV Enthusiast at $10 a month, which also gives you early access and the monthly live stream, and you get a vinyl decal. And then we've got the RV Fanatic, which is the same benefits as the prior one, but you get a coffee mug instead of a vinyl decal. You get a little discount on our merchant tools, so anything on our website. And then we also have our How to Start a Mobile RV Repair Business series that's on access to that. And then our RV Tech tier, which we are limiting to 50 patrons. So when that fills up, we'll evaluate whether or not we want to add more tiers. But for right now, we're just going to focus on having 50 patrons in that tier. And so you get a welcome letter, all the same benefits as the previous one. You get a t-shirt instead of a mug. You get a little bit bigger of a discount on the tools. You get that same access to our How to Start a Mobile RV Repair Business series. And then we have a monthly Zoom meeting, which we just did last time. So just want to tell you, if you are a patron or if you're not, hop on over there and join, and you can join into the live stream.
And any one of these tiers, if I'm correct, any one of these tiers gets the bonus round of YouTube, so you go for another hour.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you want to deal with me for another hour, you can jump join us over there.
Yeah, we keep it to 30 to 60 minutes, so just kind of depends. Okay, so if you can't answer these questions very quickly,
all right,
then
hit me.
We'll just save them for later or something. Okay, how do you verify if an EMS is functioning properly? My EMS randomly cuts off power to the RV but doesn't log a fault. My neighbors in the park and park management aren't aware of any power issues.
EMS, Energy Management System, if it's got a fault, is there any way that you can connect it to a known good power source or monitor the power coming into it? I'm assuming it's probably going to be a ShoreGuard or a Progressive Dynamics, I'm guessing. Those are pretty robust, but if it keeps faulting out, I would want to put on a data logger, personally, Darren would, because I would want to know, because they turn themselves off if there's a brownout or if there's a surge. And they'll stay off for about 3 minutes. The 3 minutes, sometimes you can select that off. The 3 minutes is there for head pressure on an air conditioner. So if you're not going to use your air conditioner, sometimes you can turn that 3-minute timer off. But connect it to a known good power source, monitor the power feeding it, and see if you've got power that's stable all the way through and it's still tripping out, then you may have a problem with your EMS.
Okay. Tom says, I'm having issues on the DC side as well. When I add loads to DC appliances, lights, water pumps, etc., I find my voltage drops as items are added. My question is this. I backfed the DC side with a solar generator, and I wonder how safe this is.
You backfed a solar generator.
The DC side with a solar generator.
Did that fix the problem?
He said it seems to be working.
Okay, so without the solar generator on it, and I would want to define exactly what he's. The solar generator could mean a couple different things, so I would want to know that. But for our quick fire thing, without the solar connected, take the solar out of the equation. If you have a battery and a converter, and the converter is connected to shore power, and the converter is giving those batteries 13.6 volts, and the batteries are then feeding everything, and that's a perfect system. What part of that equation is not working right? Either your batteries are sulfated and they're not a very good state of health, or your converter is not giving you the correct amount. Like if it's a 35-watt converter and you're trying to charge 6 batteries on it, that'll never happen. So make sure that the math is right for the size of the converter, for the size of the batteries, and let's make sure that that works first. And because if you're putting the solar on it and it works, but it doesn't work with your converter, the problem may be the converter is not sized properly for the amount of battery bank that you have, and therefore your batteries are never getting fully charged from the converter. We have seen that quite a few times. People upgrade their batteries, but they never even upgrade their converter, thinking, oh, it's going to always charge it, but that's not the case.
Okay, so I recently, this is Bradley.
So make sure that the math's right first.
This is going to be our last question.
Okay, last question.
Bradley says, I recently had a Norcold 2118 in slide fridge that worked on electric but not gas. Thermistor was good, was getting gas and igniting, but temp in reefer wouldn't go below 50. Freezer 2 degrees. Help.
Okay, so on the gas side, there's a couple things. I'll just rattle off them real quickly. One, what is your LP pressure at the refrigerator? You want to make sure that LP pressure at the refrigerator is 11 inches of water column, which corresponds to the number of BTUs at the boiler. Okay, so if your LP pressure is too low, you're not going to get the number of BTUs at the boiler. Secondly, make sure that even if you have a flame, you might need to clean your burner at your refrigerator. It's not that big of a deal, but you're going to find a small little orifice. I don't remember the size of the socket, but you're going to take this little orifice off, make sure that it's got a good flow all the way through that small, teeny tiny little orifice. Bugs like to get in there. The next thing, you're going to clean your burner, your boiler stack. Inside the boiler stack is a thing called a swirler. If your swirler is missing or not there or burned up, then the flame and the heat that is generated in the boiler is just going to go right on out the top. The swirler's job, it's a little device about this long, looks like a corkscrew, and it's on a long, skinny line that goes all the way down inside of the burner tube. And as that flame is coming up into the burner, it moves it to the outside of it moves the flame to the outside of it so that the walls are getting it, and it slows it down. So LP pressure, make sure your burner clog is cleaned, and make sure that your swirler is intact. If your refrigerator's been off for a while, don't do this when it's been on for a while. You can actually pull the burner off and take your finger up inside the burner. You should feel the swirler. It's right there. If you feel it, great. Sometimes those will burn up a little bit. I have seen that, but overwhelmingly for you, I would say that it's probably going to be LP pressure is too low, or your burner needs to be cleaned. Also on the Norcolds, where your burner goes out, you have this little burner with all these little slots on it. If you have a lot of rust falling down from inside your burner, they're going to fill up that, and you can just take a can of office air and blow that out. Little Phillips screw takes all that apart. You're going to have like 3 screws to take out, don't lose them, and you can take all that out, clean it really good. If your burner, that little orifice is clogged, don't ever put any, like a file for a MIG welder. Don't do that. Hit it with compressed air and rubbing alcohol. is the only thing I would want you to clean that with. Done.
All right, and so we're gonna get going. Let's see. So Paul, we source our parts from different vendors, sometimes Amazon. Yeah, so there's lots of different resources that you can use if you're a business. You can
Local
do like
shops.
NTP, Laurelhurst. Yeah.
Yeah, Laurelhurst, NTP, Stag.
If you're where's he located?
I don't know.
You didn't say.
If you're up in the Northwest, Laurelhurst is your best bet here. If you're down in the Texas region, Pantera is huge. Arrow is big. There's one that starts with an M. I'm drawing a total blank. But it starts with an M. But different regions have their place. So if you're up in the Northwest area, Laurelhurst is like the best.
All right, and I think we're gonna get off here, take just a few minutes break, and then we'll be over on
See you on the Patreon side.
Patreon. So yeah,
Okay?
thanks for joining us.
We'll see you
Thank
again next.
Germany and Canada and all
Germany,
across
Canada.
the United States.
Yes.
We love you
Dankeschön.
guys.
Dankeschön. I really enjoy this, so leave us comments. Let us know we're playing with some new software. Let us know if that's beneficial, if it's kind of more of a hindrance than a help.
I think this is gonna be a good.
Okay,
better
that
one
one's
for
better.
us.
Okay. Yeah, give us some feedback. We're doing this for your benefit, and I enjoy it. I think Trisha and Ann enjoy it. It's something we look forward to doing, and we might do more of these types of things. If you're on Patreon, we spoil you a little bit more. You even get on the high tiers on Patreon, you get a Zoom meeting live. So yeah, join us on the Patreon side. Those are the RV Tech tiers, and on the Patreon side, you get access to our on the $15 and $25 tier, how to start, maintain, and operate a mobile RV service business. And we've just finished our 6th episode of that. We got one coming out every week, so
Yeah.
a lot of fun on that. So we will see you guys next month or in 10 minutes, whichever comes first.
Okay.
Okay, guys. See ya.
Bye.
Bye.